You already know what time it is. It's your boy DJ Richie Skye back with some tea, interviews, recaps, and more. And be sure to check the links in the description of this video for trips, for books, one-on-one sessions, and more. Now let's get into the tea. All right, y'all, we are back with the Married to Medicine Season 11 Reunion Part 3 recap. Honestly, y'all, there is not much that I have to say about this episode of the reunion. I don't think that there is anything else that I can really contribute to this season in terms of a recap or a review that hasn't really already been stated. I think that this episode was really just much more of the same of what we've gotten for the past several parts of the reunion. But we'll talk about some of the highlights and lowlights, and I'll keep it brief. I think I told you guys earlier that I did have some family issues, and I just found out that I had a death in the family. So it's one of those things, and don't want to make the review about that, but I do want to kind of give you a glimpse as to why this recap may be a little bit shorter than most. So, with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do so. Hit that notification bell button and like this video if you like reality TV related content. All right, so we start this reunion off finishing up with this argument between Quad and Simone. It is a never ending fight between these two. Apparently Quad says something about, when she was there helping Dr. Simone find her father. Dr. Simone felt like she was only there with the camera on her. Dr. Jackie escorts and Sweet Tea escorts Simone from the room into another room as they are both trying to, talk to Simone. Dr. Jackie let Sweet Tea know this is not for you. No, get out. I need my time with my homegirl. It's me and my homegirl, not you, right? Again, I really don't have much to say about that because I feel like they have made the season really much about dismissing Sweet Tea, and this is just more of the same, right? So the men are on stage, and there's some discussion with the men about whether or not, Dr. G can say anything to Quad when she says something to him, and about how, the women can say whatever they want to the men, essentially, and the men have to know to not speak back to the women in kind. That's the rule that's set in place. Um, I also think I would add to that it may be a good idea for anyone who has a spouse in a group with them, um, whatever your gender may be, um, to not speak to anyone else in that way or in any type of disrespectful way, because then you put your significant other at risk of having to deal with what you say, right? Because if that's going to be the case, then everybody needs to watch what they say to everybody, right? But for me personally, I just know that also as a man, I'm just not going to do it either, right? I'm not going to, that's just not a space where I'm going to go. I personally feel like this. I don't think Dr. G ever does a good job of explaining himself very well. I don't think that he I don't think he ever sticks the landing with what he is trying to communicate with the guys or with Quad. I think that every time he has an opportunity to really steadfastly state his case about the issues at hand in the group, that he fails to really do so in a way that is firm enough that the group respects him, and firm enough that they don't bulldoze him and run over top of him. Um, I think the only person that really kind of stood up for that idea, even in the reunion, about what the spouses can say to each other, was really Cecil. Like, He doesn't believe his wife can just say anything to anybody, right? Because that not only really poses a danger to her, but it could also pose a danger to him. Because now he's got to defend what she's saying. And he may not be equipped to deal with whatever dude she's saying it to, right? So there's that. Um, there was much of this reunion that's just seemed to be about Quad and Dr. G. And these are unresolved issues that these two people will probably never get over. Their relationship sounded just awful at the end. It did. It does. And there's no sugarcoating that. And I mean, I think it's great that they are no longer together. So because they're both with other people, there's a big part of me that feels like, why don't y'all just never mention each other's past with each other ever again? If y'all want to forget about it, y'all don't want to deal with it, it is what it is. It's over. Now, would I want to be in that situation? No, right? I wouldn't. But it is what it is. Everybody signed up for this. So here we are. Deal with it. If you don't want to be in that situation, don't sign on for the season. Bottom line. That goes to anybody, to be quite frank. I left this season feeling, I mean, frustrated. The episode was just frustrating to me. I think that they tried to do a pretty good job of like reeling things back in. Quad and Simone, I don't think that really ended, to be honest with you. The general sense that I get is that Dr. Simone is over Quad for whatever reason. Quad is still somewhat in the dark about why. And I feel like that's just where we are. Dr. Simone says that the karma she mentioned was about you giving us you giving us your ASS to kiss. So we went out and hung out with Dr. G. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we all know that Sweet Tea and Dr. G were invited back to this show for a reason. And I think we know what reason that is. And I think at the end of the day, that reason has spiraled into something else, and now they don't belong there. That's where I think that the cast wants us to see, right? I think Quad makes that evident. She's not really ready to be around, Dr. G at this point, and that is what it is. It's interesting because you saw at the end of the reunion, it looked like everybody almost was on a nice and good note, but now looking on social media, with the stuff happening with Dr. Contessa and Dr. Heavenly, and I mean, I just feel like it's not really over. You see Dr. Simone joking about how Quad is going to pay for her house. I mean, so I don't really feel like any of what we saw was actually resolved. I would be more interested in learning what we can glean from what's going to happen next season. It seems as though the network is, or at least Andy, is very intrigued by Dr. Mimi. So I would assume that she will be back in some capacity. I have not heard anything about the next season. I haven't heard anything about filming. I haven't heard anything about who's returning. I would take about a hard month to recalibrate with this cast if it were me, and really try to determine and drill down what we can do for next season so that it is not a regurgitation of this season. Because I feel like, again, the fans are engaged, but I don't know if they're engaged for the right reasons, because it feels more like a frustrated engaged than anything else. So what would we do different next season? That's a good question. I think we got to make some hard choices about where we place people and what we want to see. I think the time to get active is not at the reunion. I think it's during the season when it really counts. I think that unless the playing field is even, I don't think that this is going to be a very good show to watch because I feel like it's kind of transparent what happens on this show. Um, and I would just feel better if maybe the cast had a very strong talking to, but I almost feel like they're beyond that because I think that regardless, some of the people on there are feeling like whatever they do is whatever they do. And that's just going to be that. So I don't know. This is a show that I love. I've been watching it and recapping it since, I mean, I think I've recapped this show since like 2017, 2016, 2017. So, and I've watched it from the beginning, right? Um, and as a reviewer of these shows, I can tell you guys that at the end of every season, it always gets a little exhausting, right? It does because we've dealt with this. We've been dealing with some of these issues for like 20 weeks about, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes, right? So you're kind of like, oh my God, like I'm a little drained. But this time I'm definitely drained, you know. Um, so and I think I was telling somebody this earlier. I always look forward to when a show is about to end, but I'm always looking forward to when it's coming back to. So I think with some time and some distance and a couple of months, a lot of us will come back to this show energized. And maybe that's what everybody needs is a little bit of time, right? So we can really see where we end up next. And I think that with time, I think a lot of us will soften in terms of our like stance. I always try to go into a new season with a new frame of mind or with renewed energy because I do feel like it deserves that, right? A new season deserves that fresh start and that fresh feeling. Um, but somewhere along the way this season, it just became very, very frustrating. And so I think as we wrap up this season and we look forward to the next, I just and I gotta tell you, like Dr. G, I mean, I just feel like he never makes himself look that good on camera. He doesn't do a great job of accurately articulating what he means, and I think that even his apology to Sweet Tea, I felt like it was kind of rushed, and it just felt more like he said it because he had to at that moment. Now, granted, as the people talked on the show, everybody has, relationships have those moments, I guess, but I don't like to hear what I heard in the episode, so it just made me uncomfortable. And I felt like it deserved more of a meaningful apology in that moment because this is something that we all had to hear in the episode. Finally, I felt like I think that his performing of the song was supposed to be in good fun, but what it really did was it furthered the idea of him being the butt of the joke. And it did not make him look very good. And I'm sure somebody from production somewhere was like, "Hey, why don't you perform that song?" And it's like, "No, don't perform that song." Because it is just set up for you to become the laughing stock of the cast. And that, my friend, is not a good place or a good way to go out on this show. Okay? That's just my thought. Just my thought. So let me know what you guys think about the final episode of Married to Medicine. Are you excited that we are at the end of the road? I am sure there will be much more to talk about in the coming weeks as things continue to play out and we find out who's coming back, who's not coming back, all of those things, when it's coming back, if it's coming back. Let me know what you think in the chatterization down below. And I also want to know who you want to see back next season or who you would like to see added next season or who you think maybe needs a reduced role next season. Let me know in the chat down below. I would love to see your top 5 picks for people to be on for next season. Top 5 picks. That should be interesting to see. I cannot wait to read you guys' comments. But with that being said, I need to go and just like process life be life, man. With that being said, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell button, and of course, I will catch you in the next video.